Hello, my name is David. Thank you for joining me in today's Q&A, Monday's Q&A. I do this every single Monday. I want to welcome new subscribers. Hello, thank you for subscribing to the channel. What I'm doing is I'm answering people's questions that they asked me from the last Q&A video last Monday. They went down in the comment section, asked me questions. Today I'm answering those questions. Any questions you have today, go down in the comment section of this video, ask them, and I'll answer them in the next Q&A next Monday. I recommend things every week. People who are authors, who have channels of their own, all kinds of different things I recommend, things you can take and eat and stuff like this to help you recover from narcissistic abuse. This week, I'd like to recommend somebody who is a life coach. Her name is Faye Agathongelou, and I might be saying that wrong. Just to give you a little bit about herself, she says, I am a former life coach with the philosophy of living life to the fullest and being the best person you could be. As well as holistic life coaching, I'm particularly passionate about wellness and confidence building. I believe that having a healthy self-esteem is the key to following your dreams and living the life you want without the fears that hold so many people back. I also believe that embracing your individuality is vital for healthy self-esteem. It is important to be comfortable with who you are in order to live the best possible life. Uniqueness is what makes us all special, so let's embrace that. It is astonishing that so many people don't see their overall worth as a person. They don't see their good qualities, and that gets in the way of their health and happiness. Low self-esteem gets us in this mess, and low self-esteem can keep us in this mess. And so building our self-esteem and self-worth and stuff like that really will help us not let people hurt us and keep hurting us. She says a person's self-worth or self-value is the key to a healthy self-esteem. People with low self-esteem don't value themselves highly enough. They may believe that they don't deserve the best or that others are more important. Their low self-worth prevents them from speaking up or doing the things they want to do. Their own needs are neglected and it impacts on their quality of life. So she writes for a blog that I'm going to go put a link to it in the description down below, description box. If you'd like to go to that blog and read some of her writings, they're pretty good. I'm sure everyone can build their self-esteem, self-worth, things like this. So let's get started. All I ask from you guys, please tell me your location. Tell me where you're at, okay? If you'd like to ask a question, please. Thank you very much. The first question is from Kayla in Alabama. Hello, Kayla. David, what does a healthy relationship look like? I'm not sure what it feels like to be in one. Thank you again, Kayla, Alabama. Great question, right? I mean, these are relationship problems we're having, so we need to find out what makes a good relationship if we want to have relationships with people of any kind, not just intimate, okay? Not just marriage, girlfriend, boyfriend. We need to build our relationships with people, and we need to make sure that our needs are being met in these relationships. We need reciprocation, okay? And if we're all victims of abuse, we need to be able to know what abuse is, be able to say no, stop it, leave it, things like this, okay? So there's a whole bunch that makes up a healthy relationship, and I encourage all of you to keep finding out and learning what that is, but to keep it as general as I can. We have needs, emotional needs. Find out what those needs are for you. They're a little bit different for people. I talk about emotional needs. I've listed them before in different videos. But find out what your needs are. Find out what you need, okay? And some of these needs, or most, should be met in a relationship, all right? There's certain responsibilities that we have if we want to commit to somebody else. And we need to meet those responsibilities, okay? And that's up to the individual what those are, even though they might be the same, or they're generally the same as mine. Yours might be the same as mine, but really it's about knowing yourself and knowing what you want and need and making sure that those are met in a relationship. Make sure that you are meeting the other person's needs and wants and expectations in that relationship too, and make sure that you're comfortable with that. You know, just because they have certain needs doesn't mean you have to meet all of them. You may not be compatible. We need to know these things, okay? So really, a lot of this is knowing yourself. Self, who you are, what your values are, what your principles are, what is important to you. What is important in other people to you, and things like that. Having a relationship with yourself, so that you feel worthy of asking for the things that you need, receiving things that you need. You are worthy of that, instead of compromising things like this. So there's a whole bunch to learn, and I'm never going to cover it right now in this video. I hope that sheds a little bit of light on what a healthy relationship is. You know, it's how do you deal with problems together? You know, everyone has problems, and there's going to be problems that arise in relationships. It's not do you have problems, it's how do you deal with them? How do you feel in this relationship? Right? Shouldn't have bad, negative feelings all the time. You know, there's just a whole bunch, and a lot of it is really learning about yourself. Okay? Having that relationship, a successful relationship with yourself, so that you can have other relationships with other people. Hope that helps, Kayla. If you have more specific questions, just keep asking me, please. Thanks. Kate from California. Hello, Kate. I just wanted to say thank you for all you do for people. There are not many like you. Thank you, Kate, very much. Thanks for telling me. I appreciate you very much. Willa, in domestic violence situations, most likely there is some kind of narcissism or psychopathy involved in the abuser. So, sure, I mean, narcissism or psychopathy, sure, because it's a spectrum that we're all on, and you're not saying is there a narcissistic personality disorder involved in every domestic violent situation? So, yeah, sure there are. I mean, that's simple. That's easy for me to say yes to. Since we're all on that spectrum somewhere, some degree of it, as we are more unhealthy, right? If we abuse people, then we are very unhealthy. There's got to be a degree of that on that spectrum. It might be a little higher, right? You may have less empathy, less awareness because you have a personality disorder or close to, you know. So, yeah, I mean, the easy answer to that is yes. Hope you're doing well. Mary from Washington State. Hello, Mary. You are a healer. I love love yourself first. Thanks. Good. What are some things one can do to heal yourself after getting out? Then the pink bubble bursts. Even though I'm happy to be away, I feel lonely and isolated. My hope for a healthy relationship ever is at an all-time low. I'm not ready to date, but need some guidance on self-care after narcissistic abuse. Thank you, David. Yeah, what are you doing? Yeah, do you want like hints on self-care? I would say, well, I talk about this. I mean, that's what mostly my channel is. Try watching a playlist, and I like to tell people every once in a while, I have a playlist titled Healing CPTSD. Even if you don't think you have that, these videos could probably benefit you in some way. It tells you a lot of things that you can start doing for self-care, things like this. But Mary, get assistance, always. Get somebody to assist you and help you, to listen to you, to hold you accountable for things, to just to learn from if you can. So a lot of this is we need to learn. We need to have awareness. We need to have a higher consciousness of what happened, what's going on, who we are, okay, and what we need to do to make sure this doesn't happen again. It sounds like, you know, you might be, I don't know, maybe if you're grieving the loss, because if this person was significant in your life and now they're gone, that's a loss. We need to grieve and work through these things. So you said you're feeling lonely and isolated. Very common that we end up doing that after a relationship. The relationship itself can isolate us. And then after abuse, we often do that to ourselves. We often do. And feeling shame, low self-esteem, things like this, it's really hard to ask for help, to receive help. And asking for help, it's a part of the recovery. It's a part of the healing. Ask for help, okay? So really, Mary, it sounds like you need to process a lot of the things that you went through. Still keep doing that till you understand and then make yourself feel better. And there's probably a ton of more things you can do for self-care Mary. It's all the things you can think of. Just invest, guys. You know, sometimes it's not so important what we do. It's the fact that we're taking the time to do it. A lot of people ask me about supplemental therapies like, art therapy, being hypnotized, all kinds of different things. And that's great, supplemental along with talk therapy. But, whether it works or not, as long as it's not harming you, the fact that you are finding this class or seeing this specialist and you're spending your hard-earned money on this and taking the time to do it, all these things is just telling yourself you're worth it. You're investing in yourself. Do you guys see that? Think of all the things that you did for your significant other. At least do that for yourself, right? Okay, so there's all kinds. I mean, it doesn't just have to be like therapy. It can be, and you should be, diet, exercise, sleep is number one. Okay, so I talk about a lot of these things in the CPTSD videos. When we have a bad feeling, we need to do something about it. Okay, and really a lot of this for most of you guys, it's about reprogramming your brain. It's about reprogramming the way you think, changing thought patterns. It's not easy. That's why I recommend everyone to get help, assistance doing this. It's not easy. It's really hard to have that kind of awareness, to know what to do when we've never been taught. That can be very hard. And then we can logically know something, but we don't know how to change our behaviors, or we just don't have someone holding us accountable, or we don't feel worthy enough. We need to build up our self-worth to do these things. You see? So if we can't do it by ourselves, then we should get someone to help us. Okay? Really important. Thanks, Mary. Thanks for asking. Patty from the United States. Hello, Patty. All relationships experience problems. Yes, they do. I have heard you say that abuse is abuse, whether it is from a narcissist or not. How would you differentiate between an abusive relationship and the understandable range of problems that many couples experience in relationships? At what point should one walk away versus working through? Thank you. Great for asking. Great. And this is on the individual. I can't tell people when to walk away, when to give someone a second chance, when to work through something. I can't necessarily decide that. It's not so black and white. Okay. What I did here is, just to keep it simple, here's the definition of abuse. Okay. So the verb, use something to bad effect or for a bad purpose. Misuse. Treat a person or an animal with cruelty or violence, especially regularly or repeatedly. Important. Speak in an insulting and offensive way to or about someone. That's crazy, huh? Just speaking about someone in an insulting or an offensive way is abuse. So smear campaigns, 1.5 year long smear campaigns is 1.5 year long of abuse. Period. You smear the person back, then it's abuse. Remember that. The noun, the improper use of something. Cruel and violent treatment of a person or animal. Insulting and offensive language. Abuse. So I like that word repeatedly. That should help in relationships, shouldn't it, guys? Cheating. Isn't that a major component of narcissistic abuse? Not saying all narcissists even cheat, but it tends to be a pretty big part of the abuse. Cheating, right? Does that mean everyone who ever cheats is abusing someone? That's a fine line. Does it mean that you should always leave someone that cheats? I wouldn't say that. People make mistakes. I think what's really important is not so much just the apology. We concentrate so much on an apology. Yes, an apology is a great way to start. And sincere, yes. But there must be some kind of reassurance that it won't happen again. And that doesn't mean that if it happens again, it's ultimate execution of the relationship either. But there's got to be communication. There's got to be that emotional connection, understanding, real reassurance. And basically, it's making the other person feel better, right? If I hurt you, I need to try to make you feel better if I want to continue a relationship. And I got to try to reassure you it won't happen again. You got to feel that, right? You know, telling you I'm sorry, you know, but key to, you know, if I hate you because I'm drunk, right? If I say it's just because I was drunk, and the next night I get drunk again, right? I'm sorry I cheated on you, but the next night I'm out with women. Oh, I'm not cheating on you. I'm not having sex with them. You know, you're not, there's no security there. And we need security in relationships. That's part of a need in a relationship. Someone asked me about earlier. So I hope that makes sense, right? It hurts. Something hurts and they keep doing it. You ask them to stop and they don't. They tell you they're sorry, but they keep doing it. Okay? Misusing. You know, say you have the authority of something. Say, you know, that a parent misuses their authority on a child. And just because they can abuse a child, they do every day. Or I mean, just because they can, punish a child, they do every day, even if the child doesn't do something wrong. Uses punishment for everything. You see how they're kind of abusing that, misusing that. You know, think about, to keep it simpler, objects. I'm misusing a blender. You know, I'm using it as a hammer until it breaks. See? I'm misusing my girlfriend. I'm using her as an object. I'm using her to just make me feel better, even when she doesn't want to. And if I want more attention from her, I'll go talk to all her girlfriends and make her jealous so that hopefully she'll treat me better. That would be misusing, right? See that? I hope it makes sense. You got more specific questions, please ask. That's what I tell everybody. And I didn't say that this time, so let me please. If I miss your question, I didn't do it on purpose. It's easy to do. Every once in a while I miss someone's question. I'm sorry, don't take it personally. Just ask me again. I want to answer everyone's question, no matter what it is. I'll tell you if I can't answer it, but I won't ignore it. If I don't understand it, if you can tell by my answer I'm misunderstanding your question, please ask me again. Okay? Thanks. Dada Dievga. Hopefully I'm saying that right. I'm sorry if I'm not. From Turkey. Hello. What do you think about Asperger's syndrome, as it can often be misdiagnosed as narcissism? Thank you and keep up doing great job. Thank you. I will try. You know, I don't know how often it's misdiagnosed. I don't know how many people that have, and first I want to say Asperger's has been thrown out of the DSM back in, I think, 2013. And so it's just autism, and it's autism spectrum disorder, higher functioning, higher spectrum, higher on the spectrum. Not so much, they don't use that higher functioning, but higher on the spectrum. So I don't know how often that's really misdiagnosed as that. I know that people in general sometimes will misinterpret, misunderstand those. Both of them can have problems or difficulties reading social cues, reading people, and it can look similar in that sense. But please understand that most narcissists exploit people, whereas autistics, they don't. They actually are so worried about hurting you and your feelings, and they're not sure if they do or when they do, they'll quite often isolate, cut everyone off because they just don't want to hurt anybody. It's very sad. So in that sense, it's extremely different. Both developmental disorders, autism, usually diagnosed, symptoms and things like this show as early as 2 years old, where narcissism doesn't. like that. Narcissism or narcissistic personality disorder typically shouldn't and can't be diagnosed until they're adults. Typically. Hope that makes sense. They're both could look the same, aren't the same, and don't feel the same. Thank you. So Carlos from Guatemala. Hello, Carlos. Can you talk about the depressed, collapsed narcissist, especially when they discarded you? Every Hoover attempt failed. I just moved on. Thanks. Yeah, sure. So lots of things going on. And this is why it's really important to build a self, to have a very, very stable sense of self, to have a healthy ego, to have confidence, to have high self-esteem, to be able to internally meet our needs, not externally. So in other words, I'm saying narcissists use ego over confidence. They have low self-esteem. They have tons of shame and use ego over that. They use identifiers instead of a stable sense of self. If you're not sure what that means, just things that they can identify with. Title at work, husband, father, American, male, things like this, things you identify with. They don't build a sense of self. And so this identity and ego are very easily ripped apart. And they don't know how to internally validate or accept themselves. They are dependent on other people doing that for them. So when a relationship fails, do you understand? They aren't telling themselves, it's okay. At least I have this about me. At least I'm a good person. No, they can't do any of those things. They're in instant competition mode, and they want to compete with you almost. They'll show, Facebook, look, I'm happy. Here's my, other pretty person I'm with. It's prettier than you, or whatever it is. It's just, they aren't able to do anything for themselves in that regards. So being so dependent on you when you don't want them or need them anymore, it's really tough to pick themselves up from the floor again, off the ground. So they are very depressed, and they'll collapse. Their ego collapses. Their identity's ripped apart. They might have an identity crisis. And when they isolate, they're extremely depressed. Extremely. I hope that makes sense. Thanks. Keep going. Good job, Carlos. Keep going. Where are we? Ariana from California. Hello, Ariana. In 2 months, I will be a full year of no contact. Congratulations on the 10 months. Make it to a year. I feel like it's a big deal and to do something for myself and celebrate. You should. Always. Question. Even though I've no contact for a year, I still experience missing my ex-narc. And I've come to know that everyone around me doesn't understand. I feel ashamed when I'm told we've been apart for 10 months and I shouldn't feel sad about it anymore. Advice? Yes. Don't surround yourself with people who are telling you how to feel. Instead, they are listening. I'm serious. And unless you can explain it to them so they start doing that for you, don't ignore that. Don't ignore people in your life telling you you should feel this way and who cares how you really do, and then makes you feel ashamed for it. Also be aware of who we're telling what to, okay? A lot of this stuff is help that is needed by professionals. Your friends probably don't know how to help you, and probably shouldn't be trying anyways. I know how to help a lot of people with this stuff, but I won't do it for family and friends, really. You must celebrate and congratulate yourself. You know it was hard, so do it. We need to start treating ourselves at least as good as we treat other people. You would celebrate your friend experiencing this. You would celebrate with them, for them. So you need to, okay? You need to. And these are the things that we start doing. If we don't feel like it, we start doing it, faking it till we make it, okay? Because that's how we build up our self-esteem and our self-worth. We're telling ourselves it's worth it. We're spending time on ourselves, not thinking about the ex-narc. So instead of thinking about him for one night, go out and celebrate with friends. And don't talk to them. If they don't understand this, don't want to talk about it, don't talk about it with them. Hire a professional and talk about it with them. Once a week, twice a week, and then go out with friends and have a good time. Okay? Keep it separate if you have to. If you can. Hope you understand. I hope that makes sense. A lot of this, guys, a lot of this is going to make us feel better. A lot of shame goes away when we have more contact with people around us that support us, friends, stuff like this. A lot of this stuff goes away from just that. It really does. Because we get to feel like people like us, that we're okay, we're accepted, we're not so bad. Okay? So do this. We can't wait, guys. We can't wait. If we have friends and we need help, we should ask our friends for some kind of help if they can. Appropriate amount of help. Thank you. Next question is from Lena in the United Kingdom. Hello, Lena. My question is, how is it possible that people closest to the narcissist can't see through their lies and their deceit? I still feel crazy sometimes because my ex is a whole new and other person now that he was with me. He is married now and has a baby daughter. Everyone is totally in love with him. It's infuriating. I don't think everyone's in love with him. I know what you mean, but you're the one who knows him, okay? Try not to watch what he's doing. You shouldn't know any of this stuff. Don't know anymore, okay? Don't look and tell people who are telling you to stop telling you, okay? How is it possible that people closest to the narcissist can't see through their lies and their deceit? It's very common. I mean, it's very difficult. Very difficult. It's hard to have awareness about things that are in our lives that it's hard to examine our lives. It's harder for us to do that ourselves. It is, and I'm going to say it just is, but it is. Why? Because we're influenced by our emotions, our feelings, our fears, our vulnerabilities, stuff like this. If we haven't seen a healthy relationship ever, it'll be hard to identify it. If we've been around a lot of toxicity in our childhood, it's kind of our normal in adulthood. It's easier to accept things. You know, if we grew up with our father hitting our mother, or hitting us, or both, or hitting our siblings, stuff like this, there's most likely going to be some physical abuse in your relationships as you get older, I'd say. If your parents neglected you, you'll be in relationships where people will neglect you until you fix that stuff, until you heal from it, learn from it. So, you know, you had good times. You had good moments. Obviously, these people aren't always just disgustingly nasty from the time you met them, right? They're disordered, not crazy. Problems eventually arise. They try to ignore them. They never get help, but they know they have problems. They try to ignore them, not pay attention to them, cover them up, keep trying again, try again, try again. Like I said, I think that's a good one, right? I had so many good times. That's why. That's the end of part 1. Please tune in for part 2 coming up soon. Thank you guys. If you can, vote, share, comment. I'll see you in part 2. Thanks, guys. Bye.